Okay, so what is an email? What can it do for me? So email is electronic mail via the internet. So some of the things that it can do, you can contact people almost instantly. Just being on Wi-Fi or using your phone or the computer and stuff, it goes through the internet. So you're able to send that and they're able to get it pretty quickly. Most emails are free to use. So like Google, Yahoo, are some of them that are free to use. Some of them do require a phone number, a cell phone number that they can help secure your account with. There's other free ones that don't require that. You can respond to the emails on your own time. So you can basically have a conversation like a text message with somebody through the emails. You just respond at your own time, get attachments to them, whatever it is that you need to do. You can send photos, digital media, letters, important documents, resumes. So I know a lot of the government agencies want to do everything online now. So you can attach any documents you may need to, write somebody a letter that you may need more clarification on. You can send photos to your friends or family. Sometimes you do have to watch the limit. We will go over that more later. You can also use your email to track your online orders. So whether you're ordering through Amazon or Walmart or any of the other stores, you can track those through your email. So it'll take you directly to the shipping people who are doing it, and then you have access to that. You can see where it's at all across the country. So creating an email. So the first, does everybody here already have an email provider set up using one? Is there anybody that still needs to get an email? You can unmute yourself or you can put it in the chat if you still need an email set up. Okay, so looks like possibly everybody has one. Okay. So if you still need an email, it's easy. You just select one of the providers. So like I said, Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, that comes with the Microsoft Office. They have a paid subscription and a free subscription that gives you a little bit reduced use. It's unique to you. It's how other people will contact you. So it's whatever you want to call your email at gmail.com, yada, yada, yada. So that's how it's posted to you. So like I mentioned before, most of them require you to have a cell phone number. So they can send you a code to secure your account. So Yahoo, Gmail, iCloud, which comes with your Apple products, all require a phone number. If you need one that doesn't need a phone number or a cell phone number, just let us know, because there's a couple of them that are pretty good that doesn't require that. Okay. So and anytime I'm talking too fast, or if you need me to slow down, you can raise your hand, put it in the chat, or unmute yourself and tell me, because I do typically talk pretty fast. So your first look at email. So like I said, we'll primarily be going over Google. It has their Gmail is what it's called, but it's owned by Google. And this is probably one of the easier interfaces. It's nicer to you. It explains things a little bit better. And it has more tabs that you can kind of be able to control what you see at one time. But Yahoo, iCloud, and Outlook are pretty much all the same. They may not have as many as the tabs over here, but they are all going to have the inbox, the send, the drafts, the compose, all of that. Okay, so first off, we're going to start with one of the easier ones, so which is just sending an email. So this is your first look at what it's going to look like when you're creating an email. So let me bring my little Gmail I already got open over here. So you're going to hit compose. and it's going to bring this screen up. So my screen looks bigger. So if you need it to be bigger, you have this to make it the full screen. So your 2 is where you're going to put the email address you're sending it to. So whether it is WPO Tech Trainers, and if you've already emailed somebody before, Google is pretty good about saving it, and you don't have to put it in your contacts, but you can, and we'll go over that later as well. So you just type it out. If it looks like this, that means it's typed in correctly. If it is not, let me show you what it'll look like. Let's say we forget the .com. So it's when you go to try and send it, it's going to tell you an error. So it's, as long as everything is spelled right in the email and stuff like that, it's going to send it if you have @gmail.com. If it doesn't have that part, it won't send it. So all you have to do is make sure this first part is spelled correctly. That's the most important thing, because there's so many different people have so many emails. So if you're using like, let's say, a familiar name like Michelle Smith, there's a lot of Michelle Smiths. So if you miss some of the numbers at the end of the email that they may have or something, they're not going to get that email, somebody else's. So just watch that. And then it'll also show up in red when you try to add in more. So let me now move that back over here. So this is just the bigger version of that. So, oh, we're on sending attachments. We don't want that yet. So you have your 2, you have your subject. You do have to be, excuse me, you do have to be careful with the subject, because a lot of the times some of the other email providers won't accept something if it doesn't have something in the subject. So even if it's something small like class instructions, so even if it's just something small like that, I know our printing service has a lot of issues if you don't put something in the subject line. So like if you're forwarding an email to us to print out, if it takes a lot longer, or it will not come through at all without that subject. This here is called the body of your email. So this is where you'll typically be doing your typing. So you have all the features here as you would in like a word processing type thing. So you can bold it, you can change the text. If it's something that's going to be more professional, you want to make sure it stays like a professional text. But if it's going to your friend, it doesn't matter. You can make it any type of color, anything you want. So typically works just like any word processor that you may have already used. It also has spell checker. So like if I type that out wrong, it'll tell you. So just like a word processor. So when you're all done with that, you just hit send. And there it is. So it'll tell you message sent. You can undo it in the first few seconds. You can go ahead and view the message again to check it. And then it'll also go into your sent folder. So you can always look at it that way as well. So do we have any questions on sending an email? Okay. Moving on to sending attachments. So when you're sending an email, so you do it the same way. So compose, type in who you're sending it to. Put in your subject, and then whatever you put in here. And so this is one of the more important things that you'll learn, as well as sending attachments, especially when it comes to, like I said, the government agencies, or a lot of businesses now are doing things through your email and stuff like that. So attach files is this little dilly bob down here. It's usually just a paper clip. So you press it and then it'll bring up a screen here. So this is your file folder. So as long as you're comfortable with using your file folder, this will be a snap. So the file folder is this thing down here. I'm going to do something off of my flash drive. So I've named my flash drive after, or my first name. So then you just go in. All right. And so that's what that'll look like. It'll show you right here that it's attached. You can look at it by just clicking on it and it'll download a preview of what you just attached. So I like to do this just to verify I attached the right, not only the right thing, but it came through okay, because sometimes different programs won't mesh together, like Word won't mesh together like with Google Docs, and it'll do some things weird and stuff like that. We've had weird things. But so it's always good just to check your attachment to make sure it looks the way it's supposed to before you send it. And then after that, you just hit send. You can get rid of emails that you may not want to send or you decide you're not going to by just hitting the discard. If you exit out of it, it's going to send it into the drafts, and we'll look at that here in a minute as well. So this is the sending the attachment. So it shows up there. So one of the things you have to watch out for is your attachment size. There is a limit on a lot of the emails that you may get. So if you're just typing a regular email out, typically you're not going to hit that limit. But if you're attaching a lot of pictures or videos or something like that, you just have to be careful with the space. Google, Yahoo, iCloud, all of those, Outlook, all of them will let you know, hey, we can't send this because it's too big. So then you just have to maybe send things in a few emails, which is a little annoying, but a lot of the times it just won't send the way it's supposed to. There are a couple of more things I will show you for composing the emails. So up in the right hand corner here, you see CC and BCC. So these are different recipients. So like your to, so you're sending it to somebody. Your CC is your carbon copying somebody in, which just means they can see the email, but they don't necessarily have to respond to it. You're just giving it to them. Like in ours, we may email a coworker, but we put our boss in there just so they're aware of maybe we're switching a class or doing something like that. So that's what the CC is. So BCC is more of a secretive way. So it's blind carbon copy. So you are sending an email out and you want to make sure that you have somebody witness it going out, something like that. So you would BCC that person in, and when the person receiving it looks at it, they can't see that they've been copied in. They can only see that it was from you and that's it. So this is kind of a secret way to let other people know in on an email without necessarily showing them. So when we send out the links that you got into, that's how we do that. We do the BCC. So that way not everybody can see your email, but you're getting it. All right. So that's the basics of sending emails and attaching the attachments to it, those types of things. Let's move on to downloading an attachment. So for this, you have to be very, very careful when you're downloading attachments to your computer. If it's not from a trusted source, don't do it because it can download malware to your device if you're not very careful. It can also go into the phishing scams. I don't know if any of you have taken any of our security classes, but it's very important that only download attachments from your trusted sources. If you don't do that, you could be giving your computer a virus on accident. Now to download, so we'll go here. And this is what, when you're replying, this is what it's going to look like, but we're going to go over that later. So this is what it's going to look like in Google, is this right here. This is my attachment. If you are looking at another one, I think we had a Cox email as well. I'm not sure how that one looks, but a lot of them will either say PDF all in red. This one's a Word document. So it'll all be an attachment. Some of them have the paper clip on them. So Google has a couple different ways you can do it. You can download it to the computer, which brings up the download thing down here. You can send it directly to your Google Drive. So if you're signed in to Gmail, that means you have access to all of the Google things over here. So it'll automatically send it to Drive. You also have the option to edit it with Google Docs, which is Google's word processing, this right here. So my Word document is not going to come up looking nicely in Google Docs. So that's another thing you have to look for, is the way it's going to transition over there. So usually I just download and print and scan if I need to, or I open it on the program and just have to fix it the way it looks like. So just as long as you're being careful and downloading from trusted sources, you will be fine. So replying to the email was the next thing. So that's what you see here. So when you have an email pop up, you have the option to reply down here. Let me make sure. Let's see. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, okay. Sorry, this is also my first class, so I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing anything because teaching over Zoom is a lot different than teaching in person. Yeah, so, okay. So this is replying to the emails. So as you can see with Google, the newest replies are going to be down at the bottom. So you can see this one started at 3:24 on January 8th. And then I sent something back to it January 10th, and then sent something back again January 10th. Of course, this was all me because I was getting this ready for the class. But anytime you make a reply, so it's going to come up with your little reply thing. So all of the same things you've seen before. So you can attach, you can have all the formatting options, emojis, insert links, all kinds of things, just like when you're doing sending things. So you hit send and it tells you here when it was sent. So Yahoo is opposite, I believe. I think their newest ones are on top. I can't remember. Outlook is definitely the newest ones are on top. So it just depends on what email you are using. But you can always tell what was the latest one over here in this corner. And they're all the same. Your timestamps are going to be here for the most part. And so that way, you know, you're replying to the correct one. There's a couple different ways you can reply. So you see the reply here. There is also a reply all button, which I only have one person in this email thing, so it's only going to give me a reply. So reply all usually pops up if there's several people that were emailed. So like our boss will send out emails to all of her tech trainers. And so we have the option to just reply to her, or we could reply all. So when you reply all, you're replying to everybody that email was sent to. So you want to be very careful that you are replying all and you want everybody to see your response. If you don't want everybody to see your response, then you're only going to want to hit just reply. Especially if it's something that's kind of case sensitive or something like that, if you have something in there. Forwarding here. So if you get an email from somebody and you think somebody else needs it as well, or maybe it went to you on accident and it needs to go to a family member, you can forward the whole email to the other person. So you just type in who you need it, and it's going to say it's coming from you, and it's going to have everything else filled out for you. And then it's going to have the person who originally sent it to you, it's going to have their email address there. So that way the person getting it can reply. If they reply directly to this though, they are going to just send it back to you. So they need to send it to the person who, or they need to make the reply to the person that is down there or who it's from. Okay, get rid of that. Nope, that's not it. Stop it. Okay. All right. So that is the basics of replying to the email. Deleting emails is really important. We have lots of people come in that has thousands upon thousands upon thousands of emails. And your inbox gets very full. It doesn't want to work correctly. Sometimes it will just stop sending out emails, period. I found that out recently. Google does that. When you get too many, it'll just start queuing your emails instead of sending them out. But sometimes it's a password issue. It also, if you have emails coming from the same person, several emails, it's better to get rid of ones that you don't need any longer, so you're not getting confused with the old ones, especially if you're like job searching or something. You want to make sure you get rid of emails that you have already looked at, responded to, and don't need anymore, because you definitely don't want to respond to an employer on an old email. So deleting is pretty easy. So all you have to do is go to the inbox, especially in Google. So you have an option of highlighting everything, and then you can just trash everything, or you can individually select them, and then you have your little trash can here, and you just hit delete. And then 4 conversations moved into the trash. So you, like I said, it gives you a couple of seconds to undo anything that you do in the Google Gmail. But so on my next slide here, I have retrieving emails. So if you delete something on accident, you can get it back. Don't worry, just as long as it's in a certain amount of time. I believe Google or Gmail is 24 hours. I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember, but as long as you're getting your emails back out of the trash sooner rather than later, it'll stay there. But most emails will get rid of this box on its own. So it will delete things as you go, and 24 hours is wrong because these are all still in here. 30 days, haha, will be automatically deleted. So you can get one back, you can get several back. So just like I said, the check mark thing. So this one on Gmail, it's a couple extra buttons than maybe on some of the other ones. So you have to go up to the little move to. So this little folder here, And then you have all the folders that you have available in Gmail. So if you have other folders, you'll see more. But I'm just going to move it back into the inbox. And then what it's going to do is it's going to put it right back where it was chronologically in here. So it's going to put it back on the January 15 or January 25, whichever one it was. So then you just have to look at it from there. And then you do, to keep your space just moving along, because especially if you trash things, I'm bad at this as well. So like I'll have to go through and delete hundreds of messages at a time. So you can always tell it to empty trash now and just keep that cleaned up as well. This here is how much storage you're using as far as the messages deleted, sent, everything. So it counts all of it for this. So obviously I don't have enough to even register as a gigabyte. So, and then you can always tell it to empty the trash now. It will always give you this message. So if you click on that on accident, this will come up. So that way, in case you decide, no, I don't want to delete all of these, I want to keep them for a little bit longer. You can hit cancel or the X, it'll get you out, or you can say okay, and it gets rid of everything. So let's see, PowerPoint back up, that's retrieving. Okay, so here's another important one, your spam and junk emails. So spam and junk is unsolicited messages sent in bulk by email. So this is things that a lot of places will send out in mass quantities. Those typically are flagged to go into your spam and junk mail. And I have spam and junk because it's called different things on different ones. And Gmail specifically says spam. So it is set up by the certain criteria that the email has set up for it. Like I said, if it's in mass bulk, it usually sends it to spam. So the very important thing is you don't want to open up any attachments that may come in these emails, because like I said, they're mass produced, most of them. A lot of them will have phishing type things that will try and get into your email account and stuff like that. So as long as you're not clicking on any of the attachments and stuff like that, you'll be fine from that. So if it looks like it's from a source that you may trust, you're checking, you're verifying the email, nothing comes up weird, the links all look good. And like I said, we have a security class that goes over these things. You will be okay, because sometimes our emails will go into the spam depending on, because we send them in mass bulks, depending on your email. Yahoo does it a lot, but if you add them to your contacts, it'll stop doing that. But for the most part, don't do anything in these ones. Oh, and that's what I say. And if you're missing an email, it may be in the spam or junk folder. And if you trust it, then you can bring it over. Typically, you can just delete everything out of your spam and junk email, browse through it. If you're missing the email, find your email and move on. But it's all unsolicited things that you probably don't want anyways, like junk mail coming through the mail. A good way to keep your spam and junk folder down, though, is be very careful who you give your email out to. I know lots of people have more than one email. Some people will give it to like stores and stuff like that, like Kohl's or JCPenney's or whatever. So that way they can keep down how much, not only promotions and all those emails and stuff, but also the spam and junk, because companies can and will sell your email address. And by doing that, you will get more spam and junk mail. So sometimes emails will get past the spam and junk filter. It's not 100% bulletproof. So if you find something that you don't want, or you want to send to the junk spam mail, you can do that. So you just select it, And then up here, you have, well, you can archive it. You can report it as spam. So that is the little stop sign there. And then of course, trash it. And then you have mark as read, all of these other ones that are not super important. But so mark it as a report spam or move to your spam. So either of those two will get rid of it. Marking it as a reporting spam. So this particular email address, if I report it as spam, it will just automatically go to your spam folder. Just putting it in the spam folder won't necessarily make other ones go there that has a similar email address, but a lot of the time spam email addresses don't have the same email address anyways. That's how they get around it. See. Okay, so another good feature that Gmail has that some of the other ones don't, you have ways of, we won't go over this unless you want to at the end, but it has ways that you can, oh, give me a second here. Okay, so all mail. So this is something pretty handy. Like I said, a lot of people make folders that they can store emails in, like if for their job, they'll just put it in a folder so that way they always have those in one place. If you want to go over that at the end of the class, we can definitely do that. So like I have this practice folder here, so I have 2 things in it. And then to send it to the folder, I just tell it move to practice, and then it moves it into the practice. Now, sometimes the more emails you get, the more folders you get, the more confusing things will look. So I wouldn't recommend setting up a whole bunch of folders, but you do have the option of looking at all mail. So what all mail does is look at everything that's in your inbox and all of the folders that you have created. And you can see where these emails are at. So here it's just inbox, inbox, inbox. So this one's in the practice folder. These are all in the inbox. So this one's in the inbox and practice folder. So you can see where everything is at by using all mail. So if you think you've lost something in Gmail, look in all mail first, and then you can go from there. But all mail is very, very handy. Okay. What's that? Searching is my favorite feature. It helps out so much, especially when I get backed up on deleting, because like I said, I'm just as bad as deleting things as anybody else. So when you search, you can search by keywords. So class instructions. And so it'll bring up everything that has class instructions. So then I can just look through these 2 emails and find the attachment that I want, because here's the attachment. It always shows it right there. You can look up particular email addresses as well. So if I do our tech trainers email, it'll show me everything that has been emailed to me and everything that I have emailed to them. So it'll show our conversation. So the search feature will get you, as long as it's in a box somewhere on your in your Gmail, it will show it. It'll also show, you can go down to, if I had, well, I deleted all my deletes, but if you go into the delete folder, you can search in the delete folder as well. So it is a really handy feature if you need something quickly and don't have time to search through all of your emails, especially on your phone, because you know your phone is a compact size. You're only seeing the app size version of this, which you have access to all of these, or just about all of these, so definitely Google, Yahoo, Outlook has an app, and iCloud, the Apple email also has, is the app version. So you have access to your email at, any time that you need it. And using the search feature on your phone will save your life. It is the best thing ever. Okay, so this is the last slide that I have. So this class did not go for very long at all. So I have the email tips here. So depending on why you're sending the email, if you're doing it for work, if you're doing it just for conversation, because there's lots of different things that you can do with the email. Is it right for the topic that you're sending? So if you are needing to talk to a coworker about something that may be like a sensitive topic, you may want to do it face-to-face rather than email, because I have down here, watch your tone. Things that are sent out through email may not be perceived the way you want it to be. So you kind of need to use neutral words and that type of thing. So if it's something that's sensitive that may upset the person, you may not want to do it through email. Be careful what you type. Email does have spell check. It didn't always have spell check, but especially if you're sending it to something that's pretty important, like to a job, you're sending your resume and you want to type out a little bit of something or something like that. Make sure that everything is spelled correctly. Grammar is all there, your commas, periods, and stuff like that. Because the emails, like I said, they do have the word processing, but you also want to make sure that you're typing things out right. Use your subject line. Some people won't even look at an email if it doesn't have a subject line. Sometimes your email won't even go through if it doesn't have a subject line. So you always want to use that. Just put something in it. For a lot of the times here at work, we put in what the email is going to be about. So that's something that you need to look at. Last one, or not last one, but this next one is very important, because in the text world, if you are sending all capitals, people are going to take it as you are shouting at them. So people perceive all capitals, so not just the first letter in the sentence or whatever, but every single letter in all caps. People are going to think it's, you're yelling it at them, or it's super important, or that type of thing. So just be careful of all your caps locks. We've already went through watch your tone. So like I said, use more neutral words. Avoid being accusatory, because even though if you're speaking face to face, it wouldn't be that way. Sometimes that's how it goes through the emails. I've got dinged on that before. Don't forward junk, chain letters, or virus warnings. Do not forward anything from your junk or spam folders. Those can be dangerous emails. You don't want to send them to your friends. I know they don't go as much as what they used to. They're more of a Facebook thing now, but the chain letter things that used to go through the emails all the time, people just send them. Don't send those, because things can get attached to them pretty simply. Don't forward things that have kind of like the Hallmark card things. You don't want to forward those, because you could be forwarding phishing attempts, and so not only you, but now all the friends you sent it to have been phished, and so then it's just going to keep going into a line. Let it end with you. So if anybody wants to go over organizing your email, we can definitely do that. We have plenty of time to do that. It is fairly easy making folders and moving them over into the folder. That's fine. And then you can always practice sending an email. So I have my little email address at the bottom. So you can send me an email. You can practice sending attachments, practice forwarding, practice replying, all that type of thing.